Good morning and welcome to another edition of your Good Governance and Public Accountability program on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Have your say. I am Yahya Omar. In the last decades, the issue of subsidy removal in the downstream of the petroleum sector has been in public discourse. The most recent decision in the sector is the increase in the pump price of petrol due to removal of subsidy by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. Also is the decision to increase the tariff of electricity, especially in areas where there is over 12 hours of supply. What is behind this decision? The new electricity tariff and the details of the economic sustainability plan of the Buhari administration. Our guest today is the Senior Special Assistant, SSA, to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, Mr. Laolu Akande. Mr. Akande, it's a pleasure to have you again in our studio.
Good morning and thank you very much.
Join the conversation as we are streaming live on www.facebook.com/Radio Nigeria Network or simply Radio Nigeria. You can also follow the conversation on YouTube via Radio Nigeria Have Your Say. The lines to call in when the time is due are 0807 622 6771 and 0705 149 3324. For SMS only and WhatsApp. So for SMS and WhatsApp only, send to 0705 864 2473. You don't need to call this number because we definitely will not pick it, but send your messages. You can begin sending those messages right now. Please turn down the volume of your radio set when you do call in due course. Make your contributions short and straight to the point. So to make that happen, you could probably scribble one or two things and go straight to it. Thank you. Now let's go straight to the points because we have few minutes to do this. And I know Mr. Akande has a whole lot to tell Nigerians. Let's get to know, first of all, this tariff in electricity and the increase in pump price of petrol. Is there any justification for these actions right now, the timing? And then the issue raised, a lot of problems, to be solved by the Nigeria Labour Congress because they look at it as a problem and a hurdle to cross and probably sit down with the government to talk about it. On the issue of this 2 weeks warning strike that's lingering, is this being considered, seriously by the federal government at all? So while you're talking, you could probably inject the economic sustainability plan. I want to give you that as a big lump, to chew on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying that the truth is that these are very difficult times and challenging economic situations that throw up quite some big decisions to be, actually tough decisions to be taken. But let me explain something, regarding the review of the electricity tariffs. Now, if you remember very well, and I'm sure that most of our callers and people listening will recall that in March this year, the price of the pump price of fuel in this country dropped from about 140, 145 to about 125. Almost more than 20 naira drop. Now that happened at the time when the international market price for crude oil also fell, and that was the same time was when the deregulation of the price actually took place, and of course we all enjoyed and we welcome that very good development, as it were. But that was also when we had ended subsidies. And if you look at it, the 2020 budget, there was no provision for subsidies. The reason for that is basically we no longer, the federal government no longer has the money because of COVID-19 pandemic impact on the economy. We have lost, or we are losing about 60% of our revenues. Of course, we are familiar with some of the controversial issues around subsidy and how it is perceived to even injure potential investment in the downstream sector. But we got to a point anyway where there was no longer resources to continue the subsidy. And I must say, just to remind Nigerians, I'm sure that Nigerians know this very well, President Buhari is the person in the room that always, and we always insist on protecting the common man. And I must let you know that this was a tough decision for him to take, essentially because we didn't have the money anyway. And we also felt that if you allow private investment to come into that sector, and one of the things that to make that happen is actually to regulate the pricing so that people can make a profit. If you allow that, more investment will come in, and ultimately it will bring down the price of fuel price. Now, if you remember, when we first of all started the deregulation in telecommunications, we were buying a SIM card at a point for like 50,000. Because it was just at the beginning of it, there were not many investment. But when the level of investment increased and more people were coming, more businesses, more companies were starting out, it got to a point that the investment was so much that it drew down the prices, the rates, to the point that today we even get the SIM cards free. The SIM cards are, and so this is the kind of what you have when you free up the space. And right now, anybody can bring in petroleum products, refined petroleum products, and sell at a reasonable profit. Now, we still have the PPRA, which is government agency, to ensure that the pricing doesn't go way above the roof, and to protect the Nigerian consumers. But the other point is that we also have now in place, and it started in a few states, the ability to be able to convert vehicles into auto gas, so that you will have an option going forward of not buying petrol. You can decide to buy gas, compressed natural gas, particularly, or liquefied petroleum gas. All of these options are going to be open. And if you look at the price of liquefied compressed natural gas right now, it's about 80 to 90 naira. So way below, almost 40% less than what the price of fuel is today. So the point I'm trying to make is that, look, we are taking adequate, we're making adequate plans, taking adequate considerations of all the issues, and if we keep on in this direction diligently, what is going to happen is that Nigerians will have a choice. Like I said, in Edo, I believe in Edo and in River State, they're already converting people's cars into to be able to take gas, to run on gas, and government has a plan. As a matter of fact, one of the plans in the economic sustainability plan is how to leverage this CNG, compressed natural gas, for people to be able to have the option for fuel. So
before you leave that part, how soon will this issue of natural gas come to
that's what I'm saying.
How is it accelerated?
It is started in Edo, and as a matter of fact, every of the Dangote truck in this country is run on gas. So this is not something that is too far to fetch. And like I said, there's a program that the Petroleum Resources Ministry have started to encourage people to convert their engines to be able to get gas, and it's about 80 naira to 90 naira. So government is taking an overall view of this thing, and the president, like I said, with his deputy, the vice president, they are very, very concerned about how these things impact Nigerians, and even though we have to take these tough decisions, but we are taking adequate measures to make sure that this thing is not too tough, and that as time goes on, it will ease off. And so that explains the issue of the fuel prices. Now let's talk about the tariff, the electricity tariff. Now you will recollect that even before we found out what the discourse we are going to do about these prices, the president gave some specific direction and directives of what he wanted to happen. Now, of course, we know that the power sector has been deregulated, even before the President Buhari administration came into office. And we've tried over the years to see how we can solve the liquidity, the financial liquidity crisis in the power sector. So we have a situation where those that bought the discos are not investing, and so their services are not improving, and they are also arguing that the tariffs, don't reflect the cost. And so over the years, what you have is government having to put money to fill the gap. Now, in the last 5 years, we've done
some
more
kind
than
of subsidizing.
So it's just a question of words now.
Wow.
So since we came in 2015, I think we've put in roughly into that sector about 1.5, 1.3, 1.7 trillion. Just to fill that liquidity gap, the fiscal liquidity gap in the industry. Again, this cannot be sustained. But the president said, what must happen is that Nigerians have already indicated to us that they don't want estimated billing. Whatever is the problem, nobody should have to pay for what electricity supply that they did not receive. So President directed last month that NERC, the National Electricity Regulation Commission, should mandate all the discos that estimated billings must end. So no more estimated billings. He also said that there should be a mass metering of customers, of electricity power customers, to say, look, you must have a meter so that you can know what you have used and what the costs are. So the president said that end estimated billings and let there be mass metering. As a matter of fact, the president said, look, in order to encourage mass metering of Nigerians, he waived the waivers. I mean, he waived the tariff for the importation of meters. Okay, and the president also said that, look, whatever reviews the discos want to propose to their customers, Nigerians who are on the lowest rung in the category of electricity users should not be affected at all. And so he said, look, if you are in the 12, less than 12, some people even less than 8 hours of electricity supply that you receive in a day, your tariff cannot and will not increase. And this is the point that is...
It is categorical?
Yeah, I mean, and NEC has already made that announcement. So discos cannot increase, they cannot review the tariffs of people who receive 12 hours or in some cases 8 hours electricity a day. It cannot be increased. The only way there can be an increase is if you increase the level of supply to them. And so the point is that we also want Nigerians to be very alert and to know what their rights are and what the president has mandated. So if you look at it, it's only the people who get improved electricity supply that we pay more. So we want to explain this very clearly. But you see, in addition to that is the fact that if you look at the number, some kind of estimate, just a rough estimate of how many Nigerians compared to the population are on the electricity grid, it's maybe roughly 25%. So we still have about 75% of our population. They are not even under the grid. So they don't even, so the majority of our people we're not even talking about electricity. So government says, look, we are going to, as part of the economic sustainability plan, we're going to start a solar power project where we will install solar panels, solar power in 5 million homes within the next 12 months. We're going to install solar panels in 5 million homes within 1 year.
How much of the ambition is that? 12 months?
Yeah. Well, so what it does is that it generates a lot of productivity. People are working. You are assembling the panels and the equipment to make this happen. A lot of people are working to fix it. A lot of people are working to install it. A lot of people are working to maintain it. A lot of people are working to create to make the payments. So we hope to even create about 250,000 jobs in that process. But then we're going to be impacting about 25 million Nigerians when we are able to do that. And